Hey guys, Kristy Price here. I'm a certified yoga therapist. I specialize in integrative oncology, and I've actually worked in that field since 2012. And I'm here today to offer you a gentle yoga floor class. As always, I will offer lots of modifications so that you have the ability to make the class either as gentle as you like or as challenging as you like. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Oh, here we go. If you have a water bottle, of course, you're welcome to keep that close by. And when you lie on your back, certainly you can have your legs straight out on the floor if you like, arms by your side, palms facing up. If that is uncomfortable in your low back, though, then you can always bend your knees and take some of that pressure off of the low back. If you have a bolster or a pillow, or a blanket, and you'd like to put those underneath your knees with your legs a little straighter, that's another option. But the idea is that right now you're just comfortable. And then we'll start with 3 cleansing breaths. So 3 times. I want you to breathe in through your nose. You're going to open your mouth and just sigh out through the mouth. And we'll do that 3 times, nice and slow. And then, of course, after that third sigh through the mouth, you're going to start to breathe simply in and out through your nose. We call this yoga breathing, yogic breathing. And in preparation for the breath work we're going to do towards the end of the class, right now, I just want you to notice where your torso, where your rib cage is moving the most when you breathe in and out. And then where it is moving the least when you breathe in and out. After you've noticed that, maybe taking a moment right now to set an intention, either for this hour that we're together or for your day. And typically, an intention is something you're either trying to invite in, something you're trying to let go of. It can be a word, it can be a statement that's noted in the present tense as if it's already happening. And then you'll start to just let your fingers wiggle around a little bit and allow your toes to wiggle a little bit. And allow the eyes to very gently flutter open. And then you're going to bring your knees in towards your chest here and just bring the knees in and rock a little side to side. You might start to feel a little gentle stretch in your back, your low back, maybe your middle back. And then we're going to begin to roll the knees in a circle. So you want this to be a little more gentle, then you can keep your hands on your knees as the knees roll in circles. And if you want it to be a little more challenging, especially on the abdominals, you're going to bring your arms down towards the floor. And again, rolling those knees in circles. If you want even more challenge, then you make the circle a little bit bigger, maybe even going towards straightening your legs a bit. And just always remembering that it's important to do. It feels good to your body, like in this moment, right? Not what your mind thinks you need to be doing. Then you're simply going to reverse that circle of the other direction. Lovely. All right. So everybody's going to place your feet down onto the mat. The knees are going to be bent and bring your feet maybe a little bit wider than hips distance. And now you're going to turn your palms so they're facing down towards the floor. And you're flexing your feet. So you'll see my toes are going to lift up off the mat. And now you're going to rock your knees side to side. Okay, so you're going to get a little more of a stretch, a little twist in that low back area. And then if you want to feel stretch in the hip flexor, the front of the thigh, then whatever knee is on top, you're going to push that knee away from you, right? Towards the wall on the other side of the room. You're just going to do that on the other side. Push that knee away from you. Your buttock, your hip on that side is going to lift up. And what you'll notice is you get this really nice stretch in the front of the thigh. It's also really nice. Some of us have a tight psoas muscle, and that is a nice psoas stretch. Very good. All right. So now coming back to center, bring those feet back so they're hip distance apart. So that means the heels are lining up with your sits bones. And we're just going to come through a little dynamic bridge. So a flowing bridge. And you're going to press the heels down, press the balls of the feet down, press your arms and shoulders down, and then you're going to lift your hips up. Okay. And they don't have to come up very far. And then you're going to let the hips come back down to the floor. So you're feeling like you're kind of rolling one vertebra at a time as the hips lift up, and then rolling one vertebra at a time as the hips come back down. Okay, if you want to incorporate breath, it's inhaling as you lift up. And of course, it's exhaling as you go back down. If this feels really easy for you, then you can also incorporate your arms if you like. So if you're going to incorporate the arms, you're going to inhale, hips are going to lift, the arms are going to reach up over the head. And then as you exhale, the arms and the hips slowly come back down. Okay. Maybe you try that and you realize that's not for me today. And so you go back to just simply lifting the hips up and dropping the hips down. Let's do one more of these. Lovely. You're going to bring those knees back in towards the chest. Give them a nice squeeze. And then now with your breath, it's a little different than the breath with the hips. You're going to exhale. You're going to bring your head, your shoulders, your upper back off the floor as much as you can. And then you're going to inhale and then lay the head back down gently and slowly. So it's exhaling, coming up, and then it's inhaling, coming back down. Right? And maybe you are just getting the head off the floor. That's great. Okay, go to where you need to go today. All right, let's do one more. After that one more, go ahead and place your left foot on the floor. You're going to grab behind your right thigh here. I want you to flex your foot. So what I mean by that is that the heel is pushing away, the toes are pulling back. And then again, with the breath, inhale, straighten that leg as much as you can. Exhale, let that right knee bend. Okay. Again, you can stay here. If you want a little more challenge, then you're going to straighten your left leg onto the floor. And then you're going to, with the breath, inhale, straighten the right leg. Exhale, bend the right leg. So if your left leg is on the floor, that foot is also flexed. And you're pressing out through both heels. And we're going to do just one more like this on this side. After that one more, right foot comes down. And start with the knee bent. Okay. Just assess, because one side can feel very different than the other side. You're grabbing behind the left thigh this time, flex that left foot, and then as you inhale, straighten the left leg as much as you can. And then as you exhale, bend the left knee. Right? And so you assess. Those of you who've taken my class a lot, you know, one of my favorite sayings ever is, we are bilateral creatures, but we are not symmetrical. And so you'll find one side might feel vastly different than the other side. If you do choose to straighten the other leg, you can do that now. Just straighten that right leg, push the right heel away, and then continue moving the left leg. Inhaling as you straighten the leg, exhaling as you bend the knee. Great. Let's do just one more of these. Love it. So bring both knees into the chest. You can do one of two things right now. You can either kind of roll over, come up to a seated position, or you can do a spinal rock. So if you're going to do a spinal rock, you can either grab behind the thighs or around the shins. You're going to tuck into that little ball that we were doing a moment ago. And you're just going to start to rock. Think of rocking from the shoulder blades to the tailbone. Right? Maybe you try not to let the feet touch when you come up, so a little bit of core activation. It also feels really good on the spine. If this isn't for you, you're just going to come up to a seated position. For those of you rocking, do one more rock, and then you're going to come up and have a seat. I have somebody popping in class. I'm going to let her in. Okay, so we're going to start now in our seated position, cross-legged. So one leg crossed in front of the other leg. And one thing about the alignment with this that I always like to pay attention to is making sure that both of your feet are flexed so that both of your calves are supported underneath by one of your feet. And sometimes we have some, as I call, and as my teacher would always say, extra flesh under the sits bones that you're welcome to just kind of push away out to the side. Very good. So we're going to do a twist each direction, and then we'll come into a forward fold in this cross-legged position. So you're going to inhale, reach the arms nice and high. And we're going to twist to the right. So you're going to exhale, take that right hand behind you, left hand to the outer knee, and twist. Okay, and just pay attention right now to your alignment in this twist of your spine, of your back. Okay. Is your back rounded? Are you hunched over and you're trying to twist? It's going to close you off. You won't be able to twist as well. So you want to lift up through the chest, focus on turning the shoulders. If this feels easy, you want more challenge, you're going to take your right hand, you're going to lift it up and reach it behind you. Okay. Like you're going to touch the wall that's behind you. And that just takes away some of the support. You do that and you think, "Ah, I want that support, just put the hand back down. Beautiful. On an exhale, you're coming all the way back to center. Of course, we're going to go to the other side. You're going to inhale, reach the arms high. And then again, beautiful. Exhale and twist. Again, just paying attention. What is the alignment? Is the spine elevated? Is the chest lifting up? Are you even on the sits bones? And then focus solely on really just turning through the shoulders. The rest of the spine, the rest of the body will follow. And then if you want that additional challenge, you can take your left hand, take it off the floor, reach it towards the wall behind you. At the same time, right, always giving yourself grace. If you need that support, put the hand down. And then on the next exhale, of course, bringing yourself all the way back to center. We're going to come into a forward fold right now with the legs crossed. So I do, although it's not required, if you have blocks or you have, things that you can put your hands on top of at any point, or pillows or blankets, always bring them with you to the classes. They're not recommend or they're not required, but they definitely can help. So the reason I say that is right now, if the floor feels far away from you, you can always put your hands on a block. Um, Otherwise, you'll come forward as far as is comfortable. Right? You walk the hands away. Maybe you start to bend the elbows. Maybe the head drops a bit. Make your breath a little deeper if possible. And then you're slowly going to walk yourself back up to that seated position. And now I want you to change the crisscross of the legs. Okay. So you're putting the opposite leg in front. We're creatures of habit. So if you start to notice anytime you sit down, you cross your legs, it's usually going to be the same leg that's in the front. So we have to make ourselves more even. All right. So right hand's going to come down on the floor, little side body stretch. So you can start out reaching the left arm out to the side like this. You want to engage the fingertips, really reach through those fingertips. If that feels okay, okay, so this is going to be a big stretch from the side of the chest all the way down the back towards the hip. If you want a little bit more, you can start to bend that right elbow. Maybe the left arm reaches up. And if you want a little more, maybe that right hand walks away from the body. You turn your palm towards the floor and then reach the arm up over the head. Awesome. Bring yourself all the way back up. Very nice. Good. Everyone's looking great. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So left hand is down, remember, bilateral, not symmetrical. So you might be in a different position this time. That's fine. So the right arm's out to the side. Reach through the fingertips. You're engaged. Maybe you start to bend that left elbow and that right arm reaches up. Think of it going kind of like diagonal where the ceiling and the wall meet. If you want a little more, maybe you walk the left hand away, turn your top palm towards the floor and reach over the head. Right, whatever you chose, wherever you are, breathe deep, breathe slow. And then bring yourself all the way back up. So we're going to do a forward fold again, this time with this opposite leg in front. So hands can come down. You just might start to lean forward. Okay, maybe you walk the hands away, lean forward a little more. Maybe you let the elbows drop, coming onto your forearms. And then maybe you even allow your head to drop. But your breath, again, is deep. Anytime we're in forward folds, I always like to remind people to breathe really slow, really deep, because being in a forward fold, it kind of forces the breath more into the back body, into the back rib cage, which is a place where our breath doesn't flow easily. And so you'll start to feel a nice little stretch, a release in the back. Beautiful. All right, bring yourself all the way back up to sit. Excuse me again. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. All right, so we're coming up onto our hands and knees now. We're going to do cat cow. If being on your hands and knees is not comfortable for you, you can do cat cow seated. You'll just move your spine in the same ways in which we're doing it in tabletop. Okay, otherwise, you're going to come up onto your hands and knees now. And you want to spread your fingertips pretty wide, right? It makes your foundation a little bit bigger. And then you want your knees to be about hip distance apart. Okay. In cat cow, it's simply just it's a stretch for the front part of the body and a stretch for the back part of the body. You're going to move your spine like a wave. So as you exhale, start by dropping your tailbone down, rolling the back, and let your head drop, maybe looking towards the belly button. And then as you inhale, you reverse that. You lift the tailbone up, start to arch the back, one vertebra at a time, and then you start to look forward. And you do that over and over with your breath. Exhaling is the back rounds, and inhaling as the back arches. And so we'll do about one more. And then after that, we're going to come into what I call barrel rolls. So if you take the chair yoga classes, we do this a lot in chair yoga. And you're now just going to start to roll your waist in a circle. Think of either your waist making a circle or maybe your belly button making a circle. But it's essentially like a cat cow with a little side to side cat cow added in. This nice circle. Your elbows are going to bend and straighten, right? Let them come along for the ride. And then reverse the circle. Other direction. All right. So we're going to come back and you're going to do your best to sit back on your heels. So this is a great time to have that pillow or that bolster or that blanket that I referenced earlier. Because if it's hard, right, for your hips to come back towards your heels, you could always take a blanket or a pillow and put it between your calves and the back of your thighs right there. And that makes it so that the knees don't close quite as much, right? So if you find that maybe you're here, then you just hold yourself here, okay? But I'm just trying to get you off of your wrists for a moment before we come into spinal balance. So if you are all the way back, you're just going to roll the wrists out in circles and then reverse that circle. Good. All right. So we are coming into spinal balance now. So you're back on the hands and knees. If you're doing this seated, if you decide your hands and knees were not for you, then you can do this by straightening one leg, lifting the other arm. Okay. Otherwise, we're doing spinal balance from tabletop. So the right leg is going to come behind you, right? You can keep your foot down. If you want more challenge, you're going to lift that right leg up. So notice my foot is flexed. It's not pointed, but the foot is flexed. And then if you want more challenge, really engage the core, reach your left arm in front of you, and your gaze is down towards the mat so that the neck is nice and neutral. Hey, you might be a little wobbly. You might feel all those smaller intrinsic muscles firing off. That's normal. And then you're just going to come back to tabletop, hands and knees. So we're going to do it on the other side. So now left leg's coming behind you. Again, kind of step one, you can stay here with your foot on the floor. If you want to go further, you can straighten that leg, but my foot is flexed, not pointed, but flexed. And then again, if you want to go even further, right, pull those ribs away from the floor, reach your right arm out in front, breathe. Notice those small twitch muscles firing. You might be wobbly. Right? So even though you have your chin and your hand on the floor, they do call it spinal balance because it's a bit of a balance. Beautiful. Bring it all the way back. Kick your big toes together, bring your knees nice and wide, and then you're just coming into child's pose, right? So again, hips coming back towards the heels. If that's uncomfortable, add that pillow, add that blanket, put a bolster behind you. And then your arms are just going to reach right out in front of you. Your head's going to come down. So you're staying in child's pose. I'm just going to talk to you for a moment, right? So in child's pose, again, if the floor feels far away from you, you can always put your head on a block. You can put a pillow underneath your torso, okay? Especially if you haven't had any recent surgeries in the torso, the front of the torso area, you can just kind of lay down on a pillow and that brings the floor closer to you. But this is also a forward fold. So the breath is going to be really deep, right? Breathe into the back ribs. Now breathe out and just let yourself kind of fall down into the floor. Okay, so you feel on the exhale this sense of gravity really pulling you down towards the earth. And then we're going to get a little lateral stretch here. So walk your hands over to the right. Okay, so your left hand might be next to the right hand. You might put your left hand on top of the right hand, or you might cross your left hand and put it on the other side of the right hand. Right? It doesn't really matter as long as you're feeling that stretch in the left side body. So you're taking really big, deep breaths in the left rib cage. And then as you inhale, you're just coming back to center. And of course, we gotta go to the other side, right? The same thing applies. Remember that you're bilateral, not necessarily symmetrical. So right hand can be next to the left, on top of, or crossing over the left. Up to you. Just make sure you're feeling a bit of a stretch in that right side body now. Let the head drop. Breathe. Beautiful. Bring yourself back to center. Come back up to tabletop. And bring yourself towards the back of the mat because tabletop is going to be your modification. We're going to work our way towards plank. So if plank is not something you want to do, then you're going to stay in tabletop, okay? And really work on bringing the ribs in, bringing the belly in, bringing your tailbone back, your head forward, okay? So this is where you would modify. If you want to come into plank, you're going to start to walk your hands forward. Okay, you can stay on your knees and then you bring your shoulders over the wrists and let the hips start to drop. Okay, so you'll notice that I am pushing my hands down, which pulls me out of my shoulders. If I don't do that, this is what it looks like. Okay, which if you do that over and over will end up being very uncomfortable. So you want to push the hands down, right? Come out of the shoulders. If you want more, if this is not enough for you, you are welcome to come to full plank. We will not be here long. So you would tuck your toes, straighten one leg, tuck the other toes, straighten the other leg, breathe. And then if you're in full plank, come down onto your knees. If you're on your knees, bring it back to tabletop. And then we're going to make our way all the way up to stand. So however you get up to stand most easily, go for it. I always usually take 10-second break to offer people water when we transition. So if we're coming from the floor, standing, grab some water, take a sip, grab your tea, whatever it is you're drinking. All right, so we're going to come up to the top of our mat and go through what I call half sun salutation. So we're not going into the full sun salutation with the chaturanga and everything, but it's half sun salutation. So your feet hip distance apart. Okay, and you're going to look down and you are going to pretend there's an imaginary line that's going across all of your toes. And you don't want one foot more in front of that imaginary line than the other foot. You know, when I first started my Iyengar yoga training, I always thought I was standing. They would say stand. And I always thought my feet were level. Like my body felt like my feet were level. And my teacher came up to me and she was like, "You got one foot like 4 inches behind the other foot." And I didn't even notice that until someone brought it up to me many moons ago. But so I always like to bring that up because once you're aware of it, you can change it, right? All right. So press down through the heels, let the chest look nice and high. We're just going to flow through a little half sun salutation. So you're going to inhale, reach up. You're going to exhale, fold from the hip crease, let your head drop, and just round the back. On an inhalation, the first one I do pretty slow. On an inhalation, take your hands to your legs and then lift the back so it's nice and neutral. Call that a half lift. And then as you exhale, round the back, drop the head again. And then as you inhale, reverse swan dive. So the arms are going to reach out to the side. You inhale, come back up to stand, and then reach those arms above the head. And then exhale, take it to the heart. Okay, so we'll do that a few more times and we'll get a little faster each time. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Let the head drop. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive, arms out to the side, bring it all the way up. Exhale, take it to the heart. Good, let's do it again. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise and shine, arms above the head. And take it to the heart. One more time like that, then we're going to add on. So inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hands to the legs, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise and shine, arms all the way above the head. And then exhale, bring it back to the heart. All right, we're going to add on at the end. So you're going to inhale, reach. Good. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive, rise and shine all the way up. Exhale, take it to the heart. Keep your right leg forward. You're going to step back with your left leg. You want your whole foot on the floor, so the toes will be pointing out just a little bit. And this is warrior one. So you're going to bend your right knee. Okay. One thing alignment-wise you want to make sure of is that your right knee is bent. You need to be able to see your right big toe. So usually what happens is people track their knee inwards. You want to track the knee more outwards towards the second and the third toe. You can have your hands on your hips. Right? You might reach the arms out to the side, or you can come into the full expression of the pose and reach the arms up into the air. Okay, so those of you who've taken my class for a long time know what I'm about to say. For the newer people here, push back a lot through the back leg, like a lot. Push that left heel down, push the left thigh back. Okay, otherwise this right leg takes a lot of the work. So really push back through the left leg, feel it engage. Beautiful. Everybody take the arms down. You're going to come forward back into Tadasana, mountain pose. Yep. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now the right leg is coming back. Make sure the heel's on the floor, the toes are kicked out to the side a little bit. And then you're going to bend your left knee, warrior one, Virabhadrasana. Make sure you can see your left big toe, super important. And then hands can be to the hips. They can be out to the side. They can be up in the air. Now everybody knows what I'm going to say. Push back a lot through that right leg, the back leg, right? So here my leg's just loosey-goosey, and my left leg is already starting to shake a little bit. When I engage this back leg, I push it back and engage it, and I push that heel down, it takes some of that pressure off of my front leg, and especially my front knee. Beautiful. Take the arms down, bring that left leg forward. Good. You say exactly how you're facing. I'm just going to turn for demonstration purposes. Okay, so your feet are still hip distance apart. Your toes are still not crossing that line at different points. And we're just going to come into a chair pose. Okay, so chair pose. I like to have either my hands on my hips. Okay, that's your modification. If you want a little bit more, your arms can come straight out in front of you. Right? I don't really like to do the one with the arms up, a lot on the heart. So you're going to bend your knees, stick your hips back, like your bottom is going to touch that wall behind you. And the arms can be in front, or again, the hands can be here. They can be at heart center, right? There's lots of options. You want to see it from the side view, right? So like this. You see my knees aren't going past my toes. I should be able to see all of my toes. And look at that. My left foot's further in front of my right foot. Right? So it's less of you leaning forward. The weight's in your heels. It's more of the weight in the heels and the hips going back. Right? And you might be here. You might just have a little bend. Work there. That's great. Good. Everybody inhale, rise and shine. Reach those arms up above the head. Very good. Grab your right wrist and just reach over to the left here. Little standing, half moon, side stretch. Right, modification. Sorry, I should have said this part first is if you can bring your arm across your chest, if reaching the arm up over the head is uncomfortable. And then you bring it all the way back up. Of course, you're going to do the other side, so grab the other wrist, reach over. Modification is that arm is more in front of you as opposed to reaching the arm up and over. Love it. All right, bring yourself all the way back up. Release those arms down. We are going to come into a tree pose. So tree pose is a balance pose. Since you're home, it's kind of nice. If you know that your balance is a little tricky or feels a little off today, you can always do tree pose against a wall, right? You can always hold on to a wall to come into your tree pose, or you can do it freestanding. Okay. It's the beauty of doing this at home. So you're going to be standing on your right foot first. So go ahead and put your weight on the right side. And then you've got a few options for the other leg. So you can do, I call this kickstand. So the toes are on the floor, even the ball of the foot can be on the floor, and the heel's going to be just kind of above that right ankle. And you want to go ahead and set yourself up. So I'm not like slouching, right? I'm not a bendy tree. I'm lifted up. Okay. Another option is you can take your foot to your calf. And the final option is you can take your foot to the inner thigh. So the hands be at heart center, unless you're holding onto a wall or chair, a counter, whatever you might be using. Now, the more you move, the more challenging it is. So you can reach the arms up, knowing that's going to challenge your balance. You want to breathe a little deeper. Find your what's called a drishti. Your drishti is your focal point. So something that you're looking at that's not moving. And don't move your eyes. Don't move the gaze. Good. And then you slowly come out the same way that you came in. Lovely. Very good. All right. So we're going to do the same other side. Now you're standing on that left foot. You will find, for those of you newer to yoga, that one side is drastically easier to balance on than the other side. And you would think it would be, oh, well, that's, my dominant leg, that's easier to balance on. For me, it's actually opposite. So I don't think there's like a rhyme or reason for it. But this might be easier for you than the first side, or this might be your challenging side. So you're going to stand on the left foot, right foot, kickstand. Remember, you're not slouching, but you're pressing down and through your roots, that left foot, you're lifting up. You might come to calf, you might come to inner thigh, right? So hands can be at heart. You can reach the arms up. Breathe a little deeper, find your drishti, your focal point, whatever that might be for you. Right, and I'm demonstrating kickstand on this side. So maybe you're in kickstand and you think, okay, I might want to try to go a little further, but I'm not ready to lift my foot off the floor. So maybe you come to the tippy toes, that right foot. Maybe you work on just lifting those toes off like an inch. Just noticing what happens. And then, of course, you come out same way that you came in. Slowly release. Beautiful. All righty. So I'm going to have you actually come back down to sit now. Do some seated stretches. Yeah. Okay. So let's start. You're going to bring your right leg out in front of you. Right? You can move that extra flesh, as my teacher would always call it, out from under the sits bones. Okay. The right leg is straight, and you're going to flex the foot. So you'll see I flex my foot and my knee almost kind of bends a little bit. So when I flex that foot, I also want you to take this thigh. If you need to support yourself, you can. You need to take this top of this right thigh and push it down. So I'm not here, pushing it down and then extending out. Okay. And then you're going to bring your left knee up. And you're just going to hold on to that left leg. You might be holding the ankle, you might be holding the knee. It's all groovy. But keep your chest nice and high. If you can keep your chest nice and high and it still feels okay, cross that left foot over the right thigh so that you're more like so. Again, you can stay here if you want to go further. Take your right arm, wrap it around the left leg, and twist. The left hand will come behind you. And the more you pull this left knee in, the more stretch you're going to feel in your glute, in your hip, maybe a little in your IT band if there's tightness there. That release. Come all the way back out of that. You're going to put your left foot on the inside of the right thigh, and then you're going to let that left knee drop out to the side. Okay? Again, another opportunity to use a prop if that's uncomfortable on your knee, okay, or your inner thigh, if you find that gripping, then you can put something underneath the knee, between the knee and the floor, pillow, block, blanket, bolster, whatever. And that will help kind of take some of that gripping sensation out from that inner thigh area. Okay, so you might stay here, or you might start to walk your hands down your leg, coming into a little forward fold, getting a nice stretch in the back of your right thigh. Your hands, maybe they're right above your knee. You're working on leaning forward. Maybe they're at your shin, your calf. You're working on leaning forward. Maybe they're at your toes or your foot, and you're just working on leaning forward. And if I haven't said it enough already today, breathe deep, nice big slow breath. And then you're going to bring yourself all the way back up to sit if you're not here already. And then we're just going to switch sides. Okay, so your left leg's coming out in front. Give you a little bit of a different view this time. So you want to flex the left foot and drop the left thigh towards the floor. So that helps lengthen the back of the knee. Okay, if you need to support yourself a little bit behind, you can. And then you're going to bring your right knee up. Foot's going to be flat on the floor. Stay here. This is where you want to stay. You guys know where we're going this time. So I won't go into as much explanation. But if you want to bring your right foot on the outside of that left thigh, you can. You want to work on squeezing that knee in and staying upright, you can. If you want to twist, your left arm goes around that right knee. You're going to exhale. You're going to twist. Right hand's coming behind you. And again, just as important as when we were doing seated twists in the beginning of the class, you don't want to lean forward. Don't hunch, right? Let your heart shine. Open the chest. And then you bring yourself back to center. Bring that right foot to the other side, to the inside of the left leg. Let that knee drop down. Again, give yourself support if you need support. Okay. And then you can stay here, holding yourself, your fingertips behind your back to help you stay upright. Or if you're leaning forward, then starting to walk your hands down that left leg. And typically, the hamstring will let you know when you've gotten to the point where you need to stop because it's a pretty decent stretch in the back of that left thigh here. And you breathe. Then you bring yourself all the way back up. And then we're going to come down to a lie down. So you can either just lie down, or if you want a little more core work, okay, then you can do it in a slower fashion. So the knees will be bent, feet are on the floor. Maybe you grab onto the back of your legs and curl and slowly come down. Maybe you reach your arms out in front of you and curl and slowly come down. And then you'll come into your Shavasana, your final relaxation here, same as when we started. So if it's better for you to keep your knees bent, you can do constructive rest pose where the knees touch and the feet are wide, like as wide as the mat. It always feels good on the low back. And you can put that bolster blanket pillow under the knees with them a little bit bent, or you can come to full Shavasana where the legs are straight, feet are relaxed, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Let your eyes close. And if you want to take some of those sighs, that feels like something that will help you release, relax, take some of those sighs. If not, then just go right into that nostril breathing. Breathing slowly in through the nose and slowly out through the nose. And take a moment once again to feel where in your body your torso moves the most when you breathe in and out, and where in your body the torso moves the least when you breathe in and out. Okay, so there's really three areas. It might be the abdomen area, the lower ribs. It might be the middle ribs, the waist area, or it might be the chest. And you're just observing that. So the place where it moves a lot, okay, that is where the breath flows very easily, very unrestricted. The place where it moves the least is where there is restriction or tightness. So I'm going to ask here that you begin to breathe into all three parts at the same time. You're starting the bottom, going to the middle, going to the top. You might pause for a moment, and then you're going to breathe out, going from the top back down to the bottom. And your job is not really so much getting this really big, deep, full inhalation in. Your job today is on the exhalation to try to soften the areas in which the breath is not moving easily. Okay, so wherever the body is not moving with the inhale and with the exhale, try just to bring a little softness, a little relaxation into that space. When you're breathing out, you're letting go. You're letting yourself drop down into softness. And then you take your breath in and you just notice, where is it flowing?
right? Each breath is a little different. Every breath we take, it's going to shift. It's going to change. It's the nature of it. And then you assess with that new breath, are there different places that are more open or more closed? And it's important to remember that with any of the relaxation practices we do, the breathing, the meditation, right? You have to approach it with an idea of no judgment, no expectation. I really like to say no expectation more than no judgment, but there's no wrong way, there's no right way, no way you should be or shouldn't be doing this. But one of the really amazing things about the breath work, pranayama practice, the meditation, the mindfulness practice is the assessment that takes place of yourself. So your mind's going to wander, going to start thinking about things. Just come back to the breath over and over. Come back to that really full inhalation coming up, slow exhalation, coming down. You let go. Back to just kind of becoming aware in the exhales of the fact that there's this really strong, amazing force, gravity, that when you breathe out, you can feel yourself surrender to it. You can feel yourself let go into it. So you don't have to grip or hold. But you just take big, slow breaths in. Take big, slow breath out. And you let go. And there's no expectation. There's just awareness. The thing I really love about doing breath work is that your breath is always in the present moment. So it's always giving you this opportunity to be in the now, be here now. Even from the beginning of your inhalation to the end of your same inhalation, time has passed. The beginning of that inhalation is already in the past, even though it just happened. And the other thing about that is that your breath is something you have with you all the time. As you continue to come to the classes and you continue to learn all the different techniques that we practice, you'll also begin to be able to incorporate awareness and control or manipulation of the breath and how it affects to your thoughts and your emotional state, and how you can have a little more control over that by controlling your breath. And so something also that I like to do at the end of the classes is that since we are home, um, we're not in this big public studio where everyone has to get up and put their mats away and spray down their um, props. If you feel good where you are and you want to relax, you want to keep practicing whatever you're working on, you want to take a nap, if you have the ability to do that and it's something that you feel like you're in a state of right now that you'd like to do, um, then do that. Just be and allow yourself to come back to um, whenever you do that, whenever you come back. If you do choose to come back now, then you will start to wiggle your fingers and toes. You'll let your eyes slowly open. You might roll or stretch or do whatever feels comfortable. And then when you are ready, you will come up to a seated position. Wonderful. We did a heavy focus on legs today. So next week, maybe I'll do a heavier focus on the upper body. I like to switch it up. Um, but thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all. Those of you who I see all the time, you make my week. You know that. Be sure that you fill your own cup up. You can't give from an empty cup. And today, you put some drops in that cup. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. That's really important. So I love you all. I truly, 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 truly do. I like to end with peaceful thoughts, peaceful words, peaceful intentions. Namaste.